Hi, this is Benjamin Panter. I'm chair of the Executive Compensation and Governance Group at McDonald Hopkins. And today I'm going to talk about employee and executive compensation issues arising with respect to the current COVID-19 pandemic. This is an interesting time for employers as we shift from a period of very competitive marketplace for employees where companies were designing programs to attract and retain employees, where in a very short period of time, we're now dealing with companies that are looking to cut costs, looking to tighten their workforces, furlough employees. There's a lot less focus on hiring and retaining employees, and we're very quickly shifting to a landscape of reductions in force and employees actually being asked to leave. And so employers are very focused on how to weather the current storm, but also how to come out of this in a manner where they're positioned. So the framework that was set up prior to the current pandemic is important to keep in mind so that companies can continue to bring in the highest talent because ultimately this is going to end and they're going to need to have their talented employees working hard to drive value. One pressing issue that a lot of companies are dealing with in the short term is with respect to 2020. For employees that are staying employed and that are going to be with the company through 2020, the idea that they're going to achieve performance with respect to 2020 is somewhat dismal. The idea that they're going to achieve 2020 performance is somewhat daunting. Many companies have already set their performance targets for 2020. And as a result, the performance through March of this year is likely going to be below what they have expected. And many employees are likely looking at 2020 as a lost year in some respects. And so that creates a couple of issues for employers. One, employees may not be very motivated to work for the rest of the year at a high level, knowing that there's likely no payout at the end of that period. Separately, for employees that an employer does want to keep, there may be retention issues if they don't think that there's going to be a bonus. And so a lot of companies are reassessing their 2020 performance programs to decide, should we reset our performance targets or should we provide other forms of incentives to their employee base in order to continue to motivate their employees? Again, these are incentive programs. The purpose of a short-term incentive program is to drive employees to achieve specific results in the short term, typically 1 year. And so companies should be focused on what can we do in the short term to position ourselves to have a great rest of 2020. If it's the second half of 2020, they want to have the highest results possible. And many companies are thinking of what incentives can we put in place for that 3, 6, 9-month period to help our employees focus on the metrics that we want for that year and so that there's some incentive at the end of the road. Similarly, and not necessarily in lieu of the short-term programs, is longer-term programs, 2, 3, even 5-year programs. Companies understand that this pandemic is going to end, the economic stalemate is going to end, and companies are going to get back on track and things are going to move forward. But this could take a period of time. And so companies are focused on what can we do to keep our employees retained and motivated for a longer period of time, whether it's, again, 2, 3, or 5 years. And so companies are implementing these longer-term programs designed to focus employees on longer-term growth. It's important to keep in mind that these are two different concepts. One is a short-term program designed for 2020. The second, a longer-term program focused on a longer period of time, typically beyond 1 year. And so you want both short-term and long-term performance.